Hello. Do you like Minecraft? So do I. Alright, then. Welcome bimbos, brutes, and all other idiots in between. I am Amarug, and we're about to break down the lore of my Minecraft world. Hello? Can I help you?
Why not just use the actual lore though? Why the hell do you even have lore for this game? It's a block game. And you have 3 subscribers. Your best video ever got like 14 views lol. Who is this for? Just put the fries in the bag little bro, you are not making it out the little leagues.
Cut to the speed paint.
Okay, so hello again. I hope the new intro is better than the last one. Yeah, this is just going to be sort of a story or whatever, or lore, very vague stuff. I don't have like a whole thing written, just kind of like ideas. There's this guy on YouTube who makes these crazy builds of these like giant buildings and structures and whatnot. I think his name is Shovel42. And in pretty much every video there's a point where he's like, in my world I think this specific group of people use the magic system in this way. Some people are like psychic. I don't know. I haven't kept up in a while, actually. That's a little embarrassing. But this is kind of the same idea, where it's like, just if this whole world had lore unique to itself, does that make sense? Like, this is separate from the Minecraft lore, mostly because I don't know that much about it. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to talk for this entire time, mostly because I barely talked for 2 minutes and I'm kind of running out of steam. So I think, yeah, I'm going to fade in some music here. Picking up at 3:30. So I'm sure you noticed, but this stupid little pose with a kind of shrug or whatever, it's I don't know if it's my favorite to use, but it's kind of the easiest to draw. Or I guess the easiest to draw would be one with like the hands hidden or something like that, but I don't know, I'm not a coward, so I draw the hands. Just kidding, not always. I don't always draw the hands. Foxy, the character that I posted just last week, he only has one hand, so yeah. Sorry, let me talk about the character. Right, so this isn't actually the skin that I have equipped on my Minecraft world, mostly because I play on Bedrock and I don't feel like going into the marketplace and paying for the stuff necessary to make that skin, you know. But he's based off of I don't know if I have the picture in the video. I'm sure you'll see it eventually. I might just put it here, but it's the warm cow, I think. I'm pretty sure it's the warm one. Yeah, because the cold one has like, okay. It's the warm cow that they recently just added alongside the other warm and cold variants of the original mobs, like chicken, sheep, pig, right? So this guy is just a warm cow. I tried to sample as much from the color palette of the warm cow as possible. Sample as much as possible from the, whatever. But it was kind of a little tough because, I don't know, I didn't have a picture of because the cow is quadrupedal or whatever, and the character is bipedal. And I don't have a picture of the cow's stomach area or whatever, so I just kind of had to freeball it. But whatever, I think I did a pretty decent job getting all the colors in there. I do really like this kind of terracotta red. It's like brown, orange, red color. I really do like that. I think it goes really well with the that dark purplish color and the gray that I use for the horns and the hooves and some markings on the character. And as you can tell, I'm pretty sure, I've only said the character because I don't have a name for this guy. Whoops. Maybe I should have prepared something. I don't know. If I think of something while I'm editing this this hour-long monolith of a video, I'll go in and I'll get a clip of me saying the character's name, and then I'll overlay it every single time I say the character. Maybe not every time, but okay, sorry. Let me lock in. What else? Oh yeah, this is kind of like the very beginning of the story, quote unquote. Basically just spawned in, getting resources, kind of just like the first couple days of Minecraft, I gave him a stone sword, I gave him a bundle, just because I like the bundle. I think the bundle is a pretty good addition to Minecraft. I'm sure nobody's gonna argue with me about that. I made him look very emaciated because I always have, not always, pretty recently actually, just when I started kind of thinking of lore for this character, I started being like, oh well, he's a cow, so he only eats, he's a vegetarian, so starting a farm is so terrible for the first however long it's gonna take me to get to a stable, reliable food source. And in some worlds, because I jump between worlds a lot, in some of them I've been able to get potatoes or something. I'll kill a zombie and it'll drop a potato within the first 3 days. I'm like, oh, I'm set for life, or I'll spawn in a taiga? Maybe. I'll spawn basically next to one of the giant mushroom things, so I'll be able to get mushroom stew and then combine that with a dandelion to get the suspicious stew that basically maxes out your saturation. So sometimes it's pretty easy. Other times I'm left with 0 hunger and 1 heart, and I have to make something work with that. And it's even worse because in this most recent run, right, That's alliteration. This most recent run. Sorry. In this most recent run, I I started being like, oh well, what if he's like a pacifist, you know? Which is terrible decision, because now I don't even have like sheep for a bed, or like wool for a bed, because I need to find shears to shear the sheep so I can get the wool. I was trying to think of something else that started with sh to keep the whole thing going. Anyways. Let me see. What else? Originally, that little bracelet or whatever on his right hand, I think you'll see it in a second. I don't know when I start coloring that part in, but I originally thought that it was some kind of like ancient technology or something, like a Legend of Zelda, you know? I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Kind of like the Sheikah tech, where it's ancient but it still looks futuristic and stuff. And I was thinking that it could be this device, right, that basically allows you to break blocks in the way that it works in Minecraft, you know? So, like, he spawns in with this device already on. He's like, whoa, what's going on? What is this? And it'd be like breaking blocks, having them, you know, go into little pieces. Or maybe that's something that's just in this world where whenever you break something, it drops down as the little item, you know what I mean? The short little, the tiny, never mind. Oh my god. Never mind. I cannot possibly care enough. But I was thinking that he would spawn in with that on his wrist, and he would be like, wait, what is this? And then that's how he would have the internal 4x4 crafting menu. He would he would put something like, okay, to make a crafting table, he would get 4 oak planks, for example, and he would put them in that kind of 4x4 grid above his wrist, and they would hover there, and while they hover there, it like, I don't know, I'm thinking like the bracelet is normally in like a dormant state or whatever, and then whenever he uses it to craft something, that's when it like activates, and like maybe not a panel flips out, but it's such a vague idea for now, so I might come back to it. But that's what I'm thinking. Like, it looks like a normal bracelet for most of the time, and then it splits open or something, and that's how things get crafted. Yeah, let me think of what else. Yeah, I don't think there's much else to talk about. I think... yeah. Okay. I just remembered. Um, so the flowers, the dandelions, or whatever they are. I can't remember what flower they are in game. I'm just gonna keep calling them dandelions. I just hung like a kind of like a bracelet of them. I think that's what that is. I don't know. It kind of looks like like a broken flower crown, but I hung that off of his wrist because this is like such a non-important thing. But I imagine that the mushrooms are in the bundle, so the mushrooms and the wooden bowls or whatever, so that at any time he can just craft something together really quickly for like a food source. I gave him green as a color because just because it goes really well. I thought for a second, I was like, is there a deeper reason to the green? I mean, I guess kind of, but not really. You can see that I tried out yellow at some point, but I don't know. Green just works really well. You can see I start working on the clouds here. So yeah, I can move into the next big talking point instead of just waffling around a lot. This current section of time is going to be taking place in the Overworld, kind of the Act 1, where it's just kind of like getting his bearings, starving, dying, all that stuff. That's Act 1. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about I'm deciding what to talk about first, just because it's so, it's so like just a bunch of things that I thought of while I played that eventually just became this one big monolith of ideas. So I don't want to give it a strict order, but I do want to make sure everything makes sense. So first I'm going to talk about the Overworld, and we're going to touch on the elements, but only slightly, so that when I do the part 2 about the Nether, then it can I can build upon this idea one step at a time. Okay. There are, as we know of right now, 4 elements. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but know that there are currently 4 of them. There's only 4 that people have discovered. There may be more. We don't know yet. And the 4th one is kind of new. The Overworld is supposed to be the best, I guess. The best dimension. It's everything working in unison. All of the elements that we know of so far completely represented, doing their jobs, working in unison. It's perfect. The Nether, that's a completely different situation. The End, not at all what the Overworld is like, right? The overworld is home to all types of life, and a big part of it, or a big, not one big draw, but part of what makes it so amazing and splendid and perfect is that life continues to be formed, right? Not even just mobs spawning in, but mobs evolving, you know? Skeletons become the strays or the bogged. Zombies become the husks or the drowned. Things keep changing. Originally, there were several different, several different cultures, civilizations, right? Some of them are still around. The villagers are still around. The pillagers are still around. And those are two descendants of the same one culture, and then they kind of diverged into two different ones, right? This is where it gets stupid. Sorry. There used to be the passive mobs that we know of now, the big four: sheep, pig, cow. Wow, I forgot that word. Sheep, pig, cow, chicken. Right. Those four used to have their own civilizations, governments, whatever. And then there were also the llamas, right? The llamas, they were sort of the, not the best warriors. They weren't terrible. If I would rank them all, I would say it would be chicken, then... Let me think. Because this is funny. This is funny to me now that I'm thinking about it. It would be chicken, sheep, llama. No. Would that be it? No. Chicken, sheep, pig, llama, horse, because why not? And then the cows. Cows, bulls, whatever. I think that's right. So let's call the llamas the iron ranks, right? That makes sense. The iron ranks. They were, still are, no, they were. Llamas nowadays are like just the passive mobs, but back in the day when they were, you know, sophisticated or whatever, or had higher brain functions, however you want to say it, when they were anthropomorphized, they were everywhere. They weren't the best of the ranks. They were just all right. But most of the battles that they won, it was due to just how many of them there were. I have in my notes written here, the llamas had ranks as large as entire biomes, right? So I compare them to iron just because iron is a resource that is very abundant, and yeah, it's just kind of it's everywhere, and it's probably the one that you use the most, you know? Like, most recipes take either stone, wood, or iron. Not many of them take gold, copper, emerald. I don't think there's any with emerald other than emerald block, right? And then ancient debris is just netherite. I digress. I only just now, while I'm recording this, added in the sheep, the chicken, and the horses. But to keep going with the metaphors, chicken is like wood. It's like a wood sword, you know. They were pretty much everywhere, you know. If you start off with just one chicken, you can throw an egg, get two eggs gets 4, you know. So they multiply really quickly, just out of like nature or whatever, just how they evolved. But they were so terrible at fighting, you know. And that's still consistent to this day, right? Even after all of them have been eradicated, because like I think you can one-shot a chicken with a wooden sword, right? If not, then it's definitely with a stone sword. So they are very weak. Sheep are a little bit stronger. They're a little bit reliable, you know. They're also pretty populous. That's kind of the not the upwards trend. Never mind. Ignore me. Actually, just put this whole video on mute. Yeah. The sheep, they would be like, yeah, just everywhere. And not as weak as the chickens. I said reliable already. I'm thinking of how you use some form of stone in a lot of builds and a lot of recipes. They would probably be like mercantilists, you know, or they would be like, if you need a job done, you would go to the sheep and you would hire them, you know. Very dutiful. Sometimes I think about how stupid I sound when the sheep were the dutiful ones in this Minecraft world. Anyways, the pigs, or the boars, I have written here. The pigs were probably as bad of fighters as the chickens were, you know. They would be gold. They would be the gold rings. They were pretty lazy. They didn't do much fighting. They would be the traders. They would be the mercantilists. I would say the sheep would actually be the what's the word? I can only think of like hard workers, but like maybe like builders or something, like the people who would, I don't know, I keep thinking like sturdy, strong, reliable, not in a fighting way, and not as with an army, but just there were a lot of them. They were good workers. Yeah. And then the pigs would be the traders. Not traitors, but people who trade. Oh goodness. They barely ever trained for fighting, even though they had a military force, or like they had guards or whatever, but they didn't really. The guards were terrible at their jobs. There's like a new king every other month because the old one keeps getting killed, because it was so easy to do it, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking. But they were incredibly fast at mobilizing. This will come into play later. And they had the strongest affinity with magic. or whatever you want to call it in this world. I've just been calling it magic because that's kind of like a cover-all word for anything that's mystical or supernatural. So I'm just gonna call it magic. I might think of a better word for it later. But yes. The pigs have the best attunement with magic, and I'm thinking of how in an enchantment table, a gold sword will typically score better enchantments than like a stone sword or a diamond sword even, right? Yeah. So they mobilized quickly. They were probably they were like the laziest at first glance, and if you waged war on the pigs, then you would definitely take out a large portion of their military force or whatever. But they would when they actually locked in or whatever, they could take out yours way faster. So I guess they're not untrained, they're just really lazy. Anyways, next up after pigs would be the llamas, but I think I already talked about the llamas. They're numerous, they're kind of like, what's the term? Like a jack of all trades. Not as good at doing stuff as the horses were, and I'll say that they were they were the most selfish or conceited of all the different ranks. But yeah, I've already talked about the llamas, so we can move on to the horses. That would be diamond. I didn't include copper or emerald, by the way, or lapis or redstone. I'm sorry. If you wanted me to include those, I suppose I could at a later date. But diamond, that would be the horses. They are strong, they are sturdy in a battle way. Whereas the sheep are like strong people, and they'll lift lumber for you. They'll build your house, you know. The horses are like, they'll go to war for you. The problem is that they are not that. I envision them as like nomadic or whatever. And while they are a part of one kingdom, the kingdom stretches all over the world, you know. So there's like horses that are solo, there's like groups of like maybe a whole village of horses, or maybe like just 3 traveling in a band or whatever. But they're not, I want to say that they're not rare, but they are just because they're so spread out. That's how it works. Okay. So they're strong, probably the best fighters, even though they are nomadic and they don't look like they don't seem like they would have much experience with fighting. They're very, very tough to beat, especially like one-on-one. If any of the lower ranks tries to go up against a horse, they will probably fail. But the problem is that they are unreliable allies because they are so hard to find. So if you do have an ally with a horse, an allyship with a horse, or even multiple horses, you want to keep them as close as possible, because they will wander off and then you'll never hear from them again, and then who knows, maybe another kingdom, especially the llamas, could capture that horse and then convert it to their side, right? But it is really hard to capture a horse. Sorry, that was a whole rant. Last is the bulls, cows. I was trying to think of a third word. Oxes. The cows. They were probably just the strongest. And what I mean when I say that is physically, they were... this is good. I'll compare them to ancient debris, right? They are the hardest to kill on their own. They are the physically strongest on their own, but they are pacifists. I think that's their weakness or whatever. They're the thing that balances them. They are incredibly afraid of violence. They stay away from violence. They don't even have like a military or whatever. So none of them are trained for fighting or war or whatever. And when I'm surprised that I'm actually talking my way through this. Sorry. What was I talking about? The cows. They had alliances with pretty much all of the other ranks. They were kind. They were like, what's the word? Gentle giants, right? I'm thinking just because they have like I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking actually. I just forgot it as I started saying it. But they would be like ancient debris, is what I'm thinking. Is technically the strongest resource in the game, but it is pretty much useless, even though it's like, it doesn't burn in lava, and I'm pretty sure it's like, maybe not the most blast resistant thing. I think that's bedrock or obsidian. I know that it's bedrock or obsidian. But it is like a tough resource. It is a strong resource. But it is useless until you turn it into netherite by adding gold. You see where I'm getting at here? You see where I'm going? So sorry, this is so silly. The boars and the cows had the strongest alliance. Not even of like, it's not like, oh, this is the strongest alliance that the boars have, or this is the strongest alliance that the cows have. This is the strongest alliance between any two ranks ever, right? So normally a cow would not fight, it would not contribute to violence in any sort of manner, right? But if and also, sorry, this is like a sidetrack thing. They are not nomadic. I was thinking about that just now. They're kind of like, what's the word? I'd say there's like a main civilization, right? They are probably like forest-dwelling hippies, but then they'll send out scouts or whatever. Maybe not even scouts. They'll just send out diplomats. That's the word. They'll send out diplomats to other kingdoms, just to like make sure they have good relations, stay friends, and whatnot. Sidetrack. Okay, so if a cow was sent to a boar kingdom, civilization, whatever, village, parkour civilization, what? If a cow is sent to a bull village or colony, and the bulls nobles got attacked by pillagers, for example, or whatever evil force in the night. That would be one of the only times you would get to witness a cow in battle. I don't know how to transition this, but actually, I think I'll talk about this later. Let me get into the overworld. The character that I'm playing as in the Minecraft world, he is the last of the ancient cows, right? So all the passive mobs still exist in the world. It's pigs, llamas, cows, sheep, chicken, villagers and pillagers, right? They are all still around and kicking, but most of them, with the exception of villagers, pillagers, and whatever falls into that category, like witches, for example, every other passive mob has lost their, not lost it. Every other passive mob was kind of maybe sort of slaughtered, you know, by a dragon of some sort. So, yeah. So, all the ancient versions of themselves are lost to time. They're kind of like old wives' tales. They're like, it's how we would view, like an Aztec or an Inca kind of. It's basically people see that as ancient history, and those people probably didn't exist. They were just like representatives of some concept, or like just a god to be worshipped or something like that. They are under the impression that all these ancient ranks are not real. My character, this character that I'm drawing right here on the screen, well, right now I'm drawing the background, but you know what I mean. This character is the only proof that this ancient world really existed, right? So I'm trying to think of how he got here, and my mind immediately goes to like, oh, they stored him away like Link or like Superman in this capsule of some sort, and he was like put in stasis or something. I'll figure that out and I'll come back to it. But basically, the event that caused the dragon to breach into the overworld and eradicate all of the other original civilizations except for the ones that escaped, that has caused like a rift in the fabric of the overworld, right? So all these dimensions are starting to, not even starting to, they have been leaking in. For example, Endermen, they have escaped into the overworld. Phantoms, I'm just gonna say Phantoms are originally from the end. Now they only live in the overworld, right? Just because they've evolved to be that way. Or which is another good example? Oh, the Nether. When you see a ruined portal or whatever, I imagine that it was created by somebody in the Nether. They forced open a rift in the overworld, escaped out, and the people surrounding people in the surrounding area, or maybe even just the world itself was like, whoa, no, you cannot be doing that, and broke the portal, right? That's just what I'm thinking. And then people sort of built all the stone bricks and the gold and the iron bars and the chest or whatever as like a peace offering in case the portal gets opened again. And that's why there's like netherrack and magma or whatever usually surrounding the ruined portal, because it's like this is like a breach in the overworld. You can tell I'm starting to lose my voice because I've been talking so much. But yeah, there was this breach, and now the Nether is escaping or whatever, right? So So I'm thinking that out of all of the elements, and they do all work in cohesion with each other on this, in the overworld, right? It's once again, it's the perfect balance of all the elements working in harmony. If it were to be associated with one, or maybe the one that it exhibits the most, however you want to describe it, the overworld resonates with the element of growth. And I'll write it up here in a second, but you'll see the sort of like it's a language that I've had for a while just for me, just because I don't know. I just had like a language that I've been working on since 7th grade or whatever. It's just been kicking around, and yeah, I decided to use this just to use it. So Act 1, growth, and in the language that would be Evoma. Well, okay. Actually, no. I won't correct myself there, because I am right. I was just gonna be pedantic about it. I was gonna be like, well, actually, it would be growing or Evomac, but I don't care enough. And I'm sure you don't care enough, but Evoma, that's the element of growth. That is what the overworld exhibits. It's in the way that you use bone meal to make crops grow. It's animals themselves. When you breed two animals together, the resulting one will eventually grow up. Saplings grow into trees. And also I thought it'd be like a good word to encapsulate the first act, quote unquote, of this story, where the character is learning and growing, going from wood to stone to iron to diamond and eventually to netherite. And it's crazy because I'm trying to think of what to say and what not to say, because I want to talk about everything that I've thought of, but I know that I should save some stuff until the next part, because I don't know, it'd just be nice to have to have stuff left over for later. But it's yeah. Could go over some. Yeah, just do like a little recap with the last couple of minutes I have here. There were ancient ranks based off of all the passive, not all of the passive, but most of the passive mobs that we have. In order from worst to best, quote unquote, that would be chicken, sheep, pig, llama, horse, and cow. And then villager and illager, I would actually give them the emerald rank and put them outside of the whole scale. The overall things I talked about is the ranks themselves, just them being ancient, my character being the last kind of remnant of that time. I hinted at the elements, right? Specifically, what I talked about in this episode is growth, which is what the overworld represents. However, the overworld is perfect, pretty much, and it represents all of the elements at some point in some way. They all work in harmony. Because of a conflict that broke out, the dragon was released into the overworld, pretty much eviscerated any remnant of that time. Back in the ancient days, the archaic ranks, they are all gone now, and my character is the last remnant of that. This is the first act of the story, learning to survive, still being like looking for food, starving, stone sword, like I said, still being afraid of this new world, and yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. We've got about 4 seconds left, so I'm Maruk. I'm Maruk. Thank you for coming out, everybody.